Welcome, everybody, to episode 18 of the Hot Rod Blues podcast. I am your host, Sean Burton, with Auto Enthusiast Network.
I'm Mike Abbott, Steel Rose Metal Co.
Sean Young, Kingfish Metal Works.
Javier Agustin, Bomber Steel Customs.
And we have our guest today, Mr. Greg Boren.
He's laughing already.
Formerly, or still, of 357 Hot Rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
He's
the
still claiming 357?
Yeah.
What's your set, fool?
I like it.
It's I still got a page and all, but I'm not. The only cars I'm working on right now is family stuff. So
Absolutely. Yeah, what did you
Well,
drive here?
you should be busy enough with the family stuff.
Cheapers, man, and that's something I want to talk to you at some point. I would love for when we get all the cars together in the family. I want photos.
Family photo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
I can do that.
Awesome.
I can do that.
Yeah, that's your thing.
Let's start plugging each other now. That is Sean Barrington. He is a photographer. If you're just joining us,
He does
get him
weddings.
some money.
He does weddings.
Does
It
weddings.
does,
He
yeah.
just started doing it.
I did
Young
one.
up and comer.
One wedding.
One wedding, one time.
One wedding and the only wedding that I will do. But it was fun.
It was cool.
It looked cool.
One way or another.
All right, so let's go back. Greg. Mr. Greg. So what was it like growing up Bourne? That's a big deal to us, by the way. That's a big deal to us. I mean, in my family, you get, massive debt and bad habits handed to you.
Man,
Your family, you get cars.
It was awesome. It was perfect. I mean, growing up. The memories I have growing up, as far as the car side of it, Dad, when he was younger, he was looking for something. So I can remember going to Lakeland when I was 3 or 4 years old, watching some Anglia. I still remember the Anglias and the oddball cars that were racing. We had a cousin that had a Hudson,
Dig that.
and it was a 2.2 Hudson. So he was racing at Riverside. We'd go over there. So I can remember older, now thinking back on it, the dad was looking. He was searching for something. And the same guy that had the I guess it was a C car, the Hudson, he had a 40 Ford Coupe. And that kind of got Dad into that side of it.
Right.
He had just finished a 55 Chevrolet 2-door postcard. It was a 150. And
Nice.
It was a cool car. I remember him. Cal Custom had that wood grain stuff, and he'd cut it. He inlaid it in the dash.
Yeah.
And he took a 283, and I think he went through 3 blocks before they finally got one that would take a 302 bore.
Wow.
And he was so broke, didn't have any money. He had, I think it was Lingua, resurface the lifters for him because he couldn't afford to sell lifters for him.
Wow.
And it was a 3-speed car, bucket seat. He painted it in the wash bay when he worked at South Central Bell. He started out in the garage at South Central Bell, and he painted that car in the wash bay one night. And anyway, I can remember all this as a kid. Chrome reverse getting added to it, just step by step by step. And it was great. And at the time, I guess I was a motorhead, but it was because of him.
Right.
I just got drawn into it. The kids that lived on the street, it actually wasn't too far from where we're at. It was, I think, Racine. It's closer over to your shop,
Yeah.
Further down Summer. But the neighborhood, I remember the neighborhood. We lived in a duplex at the time, and I remember the neighborhood was full of kids, and they had soapbox derby cars. And I can remember walking down the sidewalk with my mom, and there was a hill at one end. And there was a neighborhood grocery store. It was like a house. It was a grocery store in this neighborhood. Anyway, they'd start at the hill and run down. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I don't know what the time span was, but it wasn't too long. Pop had put a go-kart together that had it's like a 3-horse Briggs. He handmade a roadster body for it out of conduit and sheet metal.
Dig that.
And it had he gave me we sawed the face mask off a football helmet, and it had a brake, clutch, and a gas pedal. It was 3 pedals in the car, and I was 4 years old. Had a shifter. It had a forward and reverse, and I can remember strapping that helmet on and him turning me loose, and I'm just doing donuts out in front of this duplex. And I look up, and all the neighborhood kids are standing on the sidewalk watching me do donuts. It was cool, man.
That
I
was
done after that.
That's right.
The guy across the street had a 67 GT 500, and I didn't realize that till I was looking at pictures of me and his niece. She was the first friend I ever had that I remember, and her name was Denise. It's funny.
Denise the niece.
But you can see we're standing on the sidewalk,
Checks out.
and we're standing there. My mom took the picture, and in the back corner you can see the taillights of this 67 GT 500. And I remember the color of the car. It was that burgundy that Ford had. It was just cool. So I mean, it was great. It was an epic childhood. It was growing up and all that. And
So let's back up a little bit as far as like give a little background on your dad, who your dad is. I mean, we talked about Mr. Bourne a few times.
Oh, yeah.
And but obviously, if somebody's picking up this episode, they don't know who Tommy Bourne is. So
well, to me, he's just dad. Y'all can talk more about him than I can. I grew up with him.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
But what did he do? Like, what was his background?
Well, I mean, Tommy's hot rodding royalty as far as the Memphis area is concerned, or as far as any of us is concerned. You guys agree? He's one of the legendary dudes, right?
He is the 2021 Clay Milliken
Award
Hot
winner.
rod
recipient
Hot rodder of the year.
Yeah.
for the rodder of the year. That
it's-
is
it's-
absolutely
It's
correct.
so funny, man. When
Yeah.
I first told him about that, he said, "Why in the hell are they picking me? What have I done?" I'm like, "I don't know, Dad.
A
You're just
lot.
a man, It was so funny. But he after the 55 and him searching for something to kind of get into.
So was he a mechanic, or what did he do by trade?
Yeah. I mean, his grandfather was a blacksmith, and when my grandfather was in World War II, his mother and him lived with him, and my great grandfather's name was Daddy Joe, and he, to hear Dad talk, he could fix anything, and that's kind of the way Dad is. I've never seen anything that he couldn't fix, even to the point it makes me sick. The knowledge that he has, he knows what tree is an elm, is an oak, is a white oak, is a red oak. Right. It just drives me crazy. He's got so much knowledge about a diversified amount of things. But anyway, I guess that's where he picked it up.
Yeah.
Was from him, and growing up for him, where they lived, Bobby Anderson was from Pontotoc, and that's where Pop was from.
Okay.
And Bobby was a few years older than him, so they all kind of hung out together Friday, Saturday night. Everybody go to town, and Dad was kind of known as the wrench. He couldn't really afford a car. Matter of fact, the first car he bought, when he got it home, my grandfather come over and he said, "Whose car is that?" And Dad said, "That's mine." He said, "Where'd you get it?" He said, "Well, I bought it." And he said, "Well, you're not keeping it." And he's like, "Well, I've already paid for the car." He's like, "Take it back." He said he's not going to take it back. He said he will after I talk to him. So he had to end up giving the car up. 52 Chevrolet Tudor hardtop. And but anyway, there was a guy in town in Pontotoc. His dad owned, I guess, a Chevrolet dealership. His name was Hooker. I can't remember his first name, but anyway, he had a 55 Chevrolet, and they raced it all the time, street raced it. And I think the sheriff or the highway patrolman in the town had a 51 Chevrolet with a 6-cylinder in it. So the only way you could catch anybody is if the car laid down on you,
Yeah.
So Dad was pulling engines and putting stuff in it in this 55 Chevrolet all the time. The kid would blow it up. His dad would buy a brand new Fuelie short block. Dad would put it together, put it in the car, and they'd go race. One night they were racing on, I guess it was Highway 6. That runs from Pontotoc to Oxford.
Yeah.
And they had recap tires on the front, and the right front blew out on the car, and when it did, the retread came off and knocked the headlight bucket on the right side out, and the lights went out. So they had to pull over, and then I can't remember the guy's name that was the cop. Anyway, he pulled up next to him and said, I'm fixed to arrest you for racing this car, and I'm going to arrest you for reckless riding, talking to Dad. And
Reckless riding.
yeah. It was
Little
to hear
R9.
him tell it. It's a funny story, but So that's where he got it, you know. And when him and my mom got married, he moved to Memphis, and because they wanted to get out of the small town, and he worked for Carondelet, which was a chain store, kind of like a Kmart or Walmart, and they had a shop, and he would, you know, pack wheel bearings, do brake jobs, all that kind of stuff. And anyway, a guy that sold ignition parts to the store, him and Dad got to be buddies, and he told him, "Man, I need a job. This isn't going to cut it." And he got in at South Central Bell, and that's where he worked. He retired from South Central Bell, started out in the garage, went on to become a foreman, installation foreman, and then he ended up back in the garage, taking over the spot that the man that hired him in. He was over motor vehicle department for West Tennessee. He covered the river between the Tennessee and the Mississippi River. So, yeah, and so during that time, while he was doing that kind of stuff, the hobby was, we were at a car show or water skiing when the weather was right. That's the only things I ever did growing up.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Where'd you water ski at?
Enid mostly.
Enid?
Yeah, we'd go to the mud hole, Argo Butler every once in a while. We didn't go to Sardis much, and we'd go to Arkansas occasionally. I remember going over there once or twice, but primarily we stayed at Enid. It was just easy. It was a good lake, fun. Yeah.
So your whole probably early teenage years, all the way through your teenage years, were you in the shop with your dad, or were you at the point at that where you were like, screw my dad, he don't know nothing?
No, I always wanted to do that. You know, it was, and I guess it was because of him. It was fun to me.
Right.
I was interested in that kind of stuff, the mechanical side of it. I liked it. But anyway, you go out and you ask him, "Pop, can I help you do something?" He's like, "Yeah, sweep the floor." So I got to where I could sweep a garage floor better than anybody in North Mississippi.
That's right.
Because that's all I ever did. But in the process of doing that, observing how he did things, what he did, it just leaked in.
You
know?
got it by osmosis.
Yeah. I can remember as a little kid too that I had a lot of model cars, and for Christmas one year I told everybody all I wanted was models. So I got, I don't know, they were about $2 back then for a regular model car. And I got probably 10 or 15 models, and I can remember being at my grandmother's and my dad and my uncle putting them all together. And they weren't too happy about it, but it was fun once I got them. And then after that, I started doing it, and it just, went on from that. So,
yeah, I love hearing the stories about your dad's granddad, the blacksmith.
Yeah.
Those are epic stories.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get your dad on at some point in time. I don't know that that'll ever happen.
Yeah, man. We had talked about that. You need to get him and Cosmo on here.
Yeah.
That would be a fun show to watch. And
absolutely.
They'd be good.
Yeah. So what was your first car?
Well, the first car that I ever got was my dad's first car, first hot rod. It's a Model A coupe. I've still got the car. But the first car that I actually bought and did myself was a 70 Mach 1 428 car. It was
the hell of a first car.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, you got to remember too, this is back in 82 to 85.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason what had happened is I was working for one of Dad's friends up on Winchester at a grocery store called Jack's Foods. And Dan Guy is the guy that owned the place, and he was a motorhead. They were in car clubs together and known Dan a long time. And Dan was out of the norm. I mean, he always owned AMCs, and they were part of the Corvette Club and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he had a Rambler Scrambler. It was a 69 Rambler Scrambler. And while I worked for Dan at the grocery store during the week, on the weekends I would wrench on the car. I'd put a clutch in it, brake jobs, different things. And when I worked on the car, I got to take it out.
Absolutely.
And man, I thrashed that car. And this car was a one-owner car. The guy only drag raced it. It was as unmolested as you could possibly get one. And it was a neat, good-running, stout little car. And I absolutely fell in love with that car. Well, Dan said he was going to sell it. And at up until that time, my Model A was running. I had got it back together and was driving it. But I needed something. I needed a driver. And why not a 69 Rambler Scrambler?
That's right.
But Dad wouldn't co-sign for me. Dan ended up selling it for $3,500.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just crushed. And Dan, I was at the grocery store working. He said, "Man, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Dude, I wanted to buy your car. I want a car." And he said, "Well, what do you want?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I guess a Mustang." And the guy that owned the building that Dan's grocery store was in, his name was Alex Migliera. He was an attorney in Memphis, and he owned some property, and he was one of the original founding members, I believe, of the Memphis Mustang Club. And he come in the store one day, and Dan got him off the side. He said, "Man, Alex, kid's looking for a Mustang. If you run across one, let me know." And it wasn't long. He called. He said, "Dan, I got one located. Y'all need to go look at it." So we went, and the guy worked for Ford. And I don't know if he worked for Ford Motor Company or if he worked for Dobbs, but he had just sold a 69 Boss 429 car 2 weeks before I got there.
Wow.
And he had this 70 model Mach 1 428 car, and it had just been painted. It was Calypso Coral, which is like Chevrolet Orange. He had everything brand new in Ford boxes. It was like a big model car. It had a brand new 428 sitting in it, top loader 4-speed.
Jeez.
But it was all apart. It was rolling, and I don't even remember what I paid for the car. It was not much. It was probably $2,500, maybe $3,000. And again, I didn't have any money, but the bank that Dan did all his grocery store business with, I would take the deposits and different stuff, and got to be friends with the tellers in the bank. And of course, he knew everybody. He took me down there, co-signed a loan for me.
Wow.
Got me a checkbook, showed me how to balance a checkbook, and kind of started growing me up some.
Yeah.
So we went and picked the car up. Dad let me do it. We lived in South Haven, and Dad had added a 2-car garage on the back of the house, and he gave me a stall to get the car in to work. But he was pretty strict. It's like, if you're going to do it, you need to do it. If you don't, I'm rolling this son of a bitch out of here, and
Absolutely.
you're done. I'm like, "Okay, Dad, okay." So did that, got the car in, got it all put together, and I was hanging out with some friends from South Haven who had Shelbys, and we had my purpose really, to get the Mustang, was to trade up. I was wanting a '67 GT 500, and I had found 3 in Memphis. There was a guy that worked at Dobbs Ford. His name's Steve Eubanks. He had, I think he had three Cobras, a small block and 2 big block Cobras, and he had 3 or 4 Shelbys. 2 of them were big block cars, and 1 was a small block car. And I wanted a big block car is what I was wanting. And he had a Wimbledon white, blue stripe, outboard headlight, automatic 428 '67 GT 500. And I drove the car and was like, "Man, this is not what I want, but it is." I wanted a green one with inboard lights and a cog swapper. I like shifting. And
Yeah.
the other one I found, there's a guy in South Haven that had one. It needed to be built. It was red, silver stripes, 428, 4-speed, inboard lights, what I wanted, but the car had to be built. And we were going to trade the Mustang for the Shelby. They got cold feet at the last minute and decided not to. And a buddy of mine was fixing to move out of a house. I sold my Mustang, used that money to buy my first house, and I was 22 years old.
So you just bought your first house, but I want to pause right there because I think there was something that we could have missed. And what did you call the transmission? A cog swapper?
Yeah, I heard
Swapper.
that. I actually caught that. I didn't want to interrupt the story. I liked it.
I like it too. Yeah.
Gear changer.
I noticed a tick on Sean Young's face
Yeah.
when he said cog swapper, like, ding. I'm calling it that from now on.
I think we all did that.
Yeah.
Kenny Bomar, I've heard him talk about driving his car and swapping cogs.
Yes.
So that's a Kenny Bomar, phrase.
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right. So,
swapper.
so your A model was down. Let's rewind to that.
Well-
what happened to the A model? Why was the A model down?
Well, Dad, that was the first car Dad built, and it was '68, and he told me I could have it when I was like 12. So I immediately wrote Marorso and Edelbrock and everybody as a little kid letters, and they sent me huge magazines of all this stuff. And
Epic.
you sit there like you do it. Y'all probably didn't do it, but at Christmas you had a Sears catalog, man.
Oh, I
you
did
go
it.
through and you circle all the stuff you
yeah.
want. And you
What
make
kind
a
of
big-
childhood do you think we had in Mexico, bro?
Well, it's I'm older than you guys, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It
It was still a thing when we were kids. Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did, and it stayed in the backyard in a little lean-to, just kind of going to hell. But as a little kid with that car, the car didn't have a rumble seat in it. When I got it, I put one in it, but. Mom, Dad, and myself went to Orlando, Florida in that car. We were all three in the front of that car. And I don't know if you guys have been in many A models, but an A model coupe doesn't have much space.
No.
So we had luggage for a week for 3 people, a toolbox. I don't know what kind of parts Dad had in the car. But we went, and Interstate 55, both sides of the interstate, well, one side, the southbound lane stopped at Batesville.
Right.
There was no Interstate 55 past Batesville when we went to Florida in 72 or 73.
Wow.
The northbound lane was finished, but it wasn't open. And I can remember us getting off at Batesville and getting on the northbound lane headed south.
Yes.
Hauling the mail, man. It was the cousin that lived next door to us that had the 40 Ford Coupe. And then the Memphis Street Rods, when they formed in '68, Dad he probably got into Memphis Street Rods about the third meeting in.
Right.
There wasn't many guys, but because of the club and what it was like different sects. They had the Germantown sect, they had the Fraser sect, and they had the Mississippi sect.
Right.
And they were kind of little clubs inside the big club.
Right.
And so we had David, the guy that had the 40 Ford Coupe in South Haven, just down the street from him was a guy named Pat Williams. And Pat he was an A model head, and Dad loved A model. So
Is he the Porsche guy?
no, Pat's
It's
gone.
different Pat
Yeah,
Williams. Okay.
he was killed, I don't know, several years ago. Anyway, when he had a Model A 4-door sedan, slant wing, it was a 31.
Wow.
And those cars are, you don't see many of them, but they're really pretty cars. The slant wing Model A's are pretty cars. And he had one that was it was cool. It was a neat car. And so we all, bust off, and Pat, he was originally from Maryland, and he was something, man. He was a like the life of the party.
Right.
Wasn't scared of anything. So we get off and then head down the northbound lane, hauling the mail southbound on 55. And a highway patrolman, I guess, saw us or caught us and run us off at Little Red Schoolhouse, which is, I guess it's past Winona.
Yeah.
It's not quite to Jackson, but a pretty good clip. So we had to get off and then go all the way over to 51 and go to Jackson. And then it was literally 2-lane from there
Right.
all the way to I-10 when we finally got to where it was an interstate again. And then it took us 2 days to get there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so I remember we spent the night, and I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere. We were in Florida, and I don't remember the car show. I remember that we went to NASA, Cape Canaveral. We did Disneyland, and when we went there was nothing.
Right.
There was orange groves all around this place, and there was no city. I mean, it was just this thing like in the middle of a swamp. It was nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But as a little kid, it was pretty cool. I got sick. I got strep throat, I think. Had to go to the hospital. I got a shot. I broke out in hives. That's never happened before.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so...
That's a serious trip.
and then I had forgotten about this, and during COVID, I have been not taking care of mom and dad, but trying to do things for them because they didn't want to get out. They had not been vaccinated, so I was going to the grocery store and doing a bunch of things for them. So I was spending an exorbitant amount of time over there with them, and I was learning stuff about them that I thought I knew. You know, being a part of the family for 58 years, you think you get to know everybody, but there was still so much that I didn't know. And to this day, I'm still learning stuff, and it's funny, man.
So I was going to kind of bring up the fact that if you're watching this show and you're looking at Memphis on the map, Orlando today, right now, with a modern interstate system, 16, 17 hours away.
That's right.
And that's going 75, 85 miles an hour.
Down the interstate.
Now that was
interstate.
that was the speed limit back then too. The speed limit was 75.
But you're in a Model A.
Yeah.
On 2-lane highways.
With a small block and a power glide.
Right.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And 3 of you in a Model A.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all that luggage in the trunk.
Yeah.
When you stayed overnight, was it like a little roadside hotel
Yeah,
or
that's
what?
that's funny in itself. Pat, not only being the life of the party, but he was so tight you could squeeze a buffalo nickel to hear it fart. That's the way he was. And we stopped at some little place, you know, some turd hole, and when we get out, we go in, and as soon as I open the door, of course, you got to remember it's Florida, and back then, man, they had roaches that were like this long that would climb out, and it wasn't because the place.
Bugs. They're
Yeah,
not
okay, that's what it
roaches.
is. But I don't remember it being because the place was dirty. It was just because there were bugs.
Right.
So we go in and I open the door, and it's like, man, I ain't staying here because when you turn the light on, these big suckers were running all over the place. I'm like, it ain't
No
going to happen.
sleeping.
So he did this. I mean, there was a nice Holiday Inn. I don't remember this, but I remember Dad talking about it just down the road, and it was probably $8 more for the room.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, I ain't staying here. And my mom said, I ain't staying here either. And she turned around and looked at Dad, and he said, okay. So he goes and talks to Pat. He's like, man, you got to get our money back. We ain't staying in this place. We're going down the road. So we did. But anyway, we do the show. We do all of this stuff. And Dad, this is another thing that just blows me away about all of this is when we did these car shows, we drove these cars everywhere. Nobody trailered anything. Excuse me. And on the way down there was, I'm trying to think. Pat had transmission problems, and Dad had to fix the transmission. I want to say it was an FMX transmission. And we were getting ready to go through the tunnel in Mobile, and it quit pulling. And we got off the side of the road, and
Good thing you did that before you went through the tunnel.
Yeah. So somehow we get in we end up at a gas station, and I don't remember all of this. I remember some of it, but talking to Dad, he kind of helps fill in the places that you don't remember.
Right.
And they were able to get the car up on a curb so you could get under it because Pat and Dad were still pretty good sized fellas. So they get the valve body out of the car, and Dad takes the valve body out of this transmission and has it in his hand, and he turns it over and he goes, bam, and just slams it on the ground, wipes it off, puts it back in the car, and we drive all the way there and all the way back. And he never had any more issues with his transmission. And then we're going over. Pat had a small trailer, and they had these utility trailers. I think probably were for motorcycles because they had one wheel on them, and it was kind of a popular thing. That's what I want to say. That's the trailer that turned Vernon's T model over. There was two guys that turned cars over. Richard Taboo turned a 31 Chevrolet. It was a Vicky, but it was some kind of special Chevrolet. Rolled that sucker over. He didn't have a trailer on his. He just rolled it over going to the Nationals in 72 or 74 in Oklahoma City. Tore the car all up, drove it. His family was in the car. I mean, there's pictures of it in one of the Rod Action magazines or something.
Right.
So Vernon Walker did the same thing with the T model, but this trailer had one tire in the back, and it was like a unicycle, and it would rotate.
Right.
It was fixed to the back of the car, so you could just back straight in, and the tire would turn around, so you didn't have to back the trailer in. You just,
Right.
moved it. And back then, the Coors was illegal on this side of the river. stupid.
Oh, yeah,
I,
man,
you
it
know,
was like, yeah.
Smoking the
Passion.
Bandit.
Smoking
So-
the Bandit. Yeah.
So that's the thing with like street riders back then was, you know, we got to get Coors beer. So we were coming back from Hot Springs or something, I don't know. Anyway, he had this trailer behind his T model, and he loaded it. It had so much beer in it that it was there was no spring. It set all the way down, and it blew the tire out, and it turned the car over.
So,
Yeah.
So, Greg, tell people who Vernon Walker is.
Well, Vernon is he started in SRA and had Walker radiators.
Right.
Yes.
He was a member of the Memphis Riders. They had was it a Fiat or him and Gilbert had a car. I don't know if it was a Fiat or an Anglia.
It was the Alter that I think Eddie was telling us about.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was a Fiat or.
Yeah.
A Fiat or an Anglia.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I grew up in. I mean, that was my childhood. When we were going to car shows, there was usually long lines of cars. It would be, you know, anywhere from 5 to 25 cars that were headed to whatever destination we were going to.
Driving there.
Yeah.
That
And
was a point of pride.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fun. We'd all stop and get gas. The Saudi rock down. Everybody pulled over and take pictures of whoever the you know, mudhead that had problems and
Right.
that couldn't fix his car and somebody else had to fix it. It was, you know, it was all of
Oh yeah. Everybody
Yeah,
always
yeah,
giving
yeah,
each other
it's
crap.
all fun.
Yeah.
nothing has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's ribbing each other. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he was one of the original members. Him and Gilbert were one of the original members of Memphis Street Rods, and they started or helped promote or, you know, propagated the NSRA thing. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it was.
But yeah, to your point, it's another Memphis original in
Yeah.
SRA.
Yeah, that's
right
right.
out of here.
Oh yeah, it's still amazing to me, the legacy, the hot rod legacy that's in Memphis from all the people that.
Yeah.
I mean, it reaches across the world, literally. I mean,
Right.
we when the last time the Nationals were in Memphis was in 1980. We had people from France
Right.
come over and stay with us in our house. He was an editor of a hot rod magazine in France, and he had some other friends, and I think he had just gotten married. Anyway, they came over, and Mom and Dad gave up their bedroom
Wow.
for them to stay. I mean, it was a big deal. People were coming from Australia and Switzerland to come to the Nationals in Memphis, and it was hot. Man, it must have been 200 degrees that year.
Right.
And I remember Dad. They were standing on the street corner at the fairgrounds, and some guy had on a foreign hot rod shirt. It was like the Nationals for Switzerland or Australia or something. Anyway, him and the guy swapped shirts, and just thinking about that kind of grosses me out because it was sweaty, nasty, stinky shirts.
Nobody cared.
Swap.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't. It
That's
was
right.
all about fun and having a big time. And the other thing that they did back then was a thing that they called Street Econo. And it was, they've got the road courses that they have set up now at
Yeah.
Good Guys, and
Yeah, Jim.
NSRA just started doing it again. But
Yeah. Gymkhana stuff.
but the Street Econo was a driving course that they set up, and Pat Williams is the one that he headed that up. That was like his thing. Anytime they had a national event, he would set up the Street Econo. And as a little kid, knowing Pat, I got to help. So it was always fun to do that. But they would set up hay bales, and they would take two on one side, and then I think one or two in the back, and they would create what they called a garage.
Right.
So you'd have these different garages that you had to pull into, you had to back into, you had to pull into, you had to back into, and then you'd have a cone set up, and they called it the Texas Star, and you had to go around it, and then you'd whip through some other stuff and go into a couple more garages and then out. And some of the guys in Memphis would do that, and I remember one guy, David Acuff. He had an Anglia with a blown small block in it.
Wow.
And David owned Acuff Crane and Rigging.
Right.
So, his car was just, it was amazing. It was perfect. And he went.
What did you do to him?
You're playing with his ear.
Yeah.
No,
Obviously.
I wasn't playing with his ear. I'm sorry, Greg. Ace had something
Everybody,
to say.
by the way, yeah, that's Ace. That's Mike's dog over here.
He was fine until you started talking about Anglias.
Yeah.
Does it, man? English Fords.
Yeah.
But he went through that Texas Star on three wheels.
What?
woo, smoking the tires, and the car would picked up, and one wheel was off the ground.
Wow.
Just crazy.
Epic.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, there was, and they had other things. They had street sweeper events where you had a passenger hang out of the car with a broom and you roll a beach ball from
they
a starting
don't,
place
they
to
don't do
stop.
that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
We
you know?
need to start that again.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
We
not-
need to
There used
start
to
that.
be a lot of that.
You
I mean, it
lop
was
one arm off at a show.
I know.
with a
And that,
broom attached to
that's
it.
probably the deal is like insurance and stuff started going like, hey, you can't have somebody hanging out of the car.
yeah. But it was back during those times, man. It was those guys were in their late 20s, early 30s, and they were crazy.
Right.
Ken Finkel, Posey, they had, I can't remember what year it was. It was between 72 and 74, whatever year that was that the Nationals were in Memphis. It was the first time. The headquarters was at the Hilton over by the airport. And inside the Hilton was a three-story building that had an indoor swimming pool. It was 8 foot. Finkel jumped off the third floor balcony into an 8-foot swimming pool, and he screamed as he went down. So people
My
thought
guy.
he was dying. And he didn't do it once. He did it 3 times, 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
And he had a car. It was actually a truck. It was kind of like George's 32 stake bed, and I can't remember what it was. It was a Norman Grabowski had a Henway that was kind of the same way, and Finkel had something like that too, but
What's a Henway?
about 2 pounds.
That's right.
Yeah. So
You have to get up pretty early in the morning if you want to get Greg, huh? Before the rooster crows.
So he backed that truck up to where the intake was for the air conditioners in that building, and took the vacuum line off and stuck it in some transmission fluid and revved it up, and it just filled the Hilton full of smoke. They had the fire departments, the I mean, they just covered the place up, and that's the kind of junk that happened wherever we went.
Right.
We the Memphis Street Rods went to one of the first car shows that they had at Gatlinburg, and they got so rowdy they were racing rollaway beds from out of the hotels down this hill in Gatlinburg, and it was so bad that the guys, and I've got a copy of that letter somewhere that said, "Don't ever come back." The Memphis Street Rods, don't ever come back to this event ever again, because they were just rowdy, and it was.
That's what I try to tell people when they're like, you hear a lot of people like giving the young kids of these days hard times for doing stupid and crazy stuff. I'm like, that's been going on since the dawn of time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, if that stuff happened now, there would be, kids doing this and, freaking out, just like
you
the
go
kids
to
in their
jail. I mean,
heads. Right.
Growing up,
That's the
I
thing.
can't believe that I wasn't in jail more than I was,
Right.
because of all the stuff that we did. But if you do it now, it's like you're going for a long time. You're never
Right.
getting out.
Well, I got to imagine back in the day, there was a cave or two next door that people weren't welcome in because they were the rowdy cave people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the Stone Age.
Back in the Stone Age.
That's right.
Don't go.
Don't
How
go
long,
over there.
Sean, was it like that back then? When you were,
I don't know.
In your childhood.
He was before my time. So I don't know.
Sean went to high school with Jesus. Yeah.
old classmates.
Yeah, he had a different name back then. I think it was Judas.
Speaking of crowing 3 times. If you're just joining us, this is the Bible version.
Yeah, right.
So you had the A model. The A model was down. The A model was blasted apart. How long was it blasted apart before you got it back together again? You had just bought a house, so I imagine it was last on the list.
This was afterwards. So when I was a senior in high school, we started. I didn't. I mean, I worked on it some, but Dad, he was building cars, and he was redoing it because up and all through high school, and I never had a car. I was driving something that he had built,
Right.
or whatever was in the driveway. My mom, he bought, and I didn't know this till a couple of years ago, COVID. He bought Mom a 55 Thunderbird when she turned 30 years old. And he got that car for her. Well, I drove that car all through high school. I got my driver's license in it, drag raced it, did all kinds of stuff in that car, man. And that was one that I drove. The other one that I drove, he had a 37 Ford 2-door sedan that he bought from Bobby Beeson. Jay's
Wow.
dad, and it was a neat car, and I drove that car a lot in high school too. And it had Jaguar wire wheels on it, knockoffs, small block. It was just a cool car, and it was. I love a 37 Ford because it was an anniversary year. That was the first year for the V860.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things on that car that are unique to that car alone.
Was it a sedan or a coupe?
It was a two-door sedan. It was a slantback. It wasn't a humpback.
I like the slant.
Yeah. So that particular car was it was pretty.
Yeah.
The Lincolns of that year were. I always liked those. The 37 Lincoln. They're beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's what I drove through high school. So I get ready to go to school and to college, and I didn't have a car, so I'm going to Mississippi State, and at the time, it took 3.5-4 hours to get to Mississippi State from South Haven because there was no
Right.
4-lane. You either go all the way to Winona and get on 82 2-lane all the way across, and it's just a long trip.
Right.
And I had a couple of guys that I was going to school with in high school that were friends that were going to Mississippi State, so I could bum rides back and forth. And but I didn't have a car, so we were trying to finish the car, and Dad had done all kinds of stuff to this car that was nobody had done. Nobody was doing Mustang 2 front ends.
Right.
He handmade the cross member, and the front end that was under my car was actually a Pinto. It wasn't a Mustang 2, it was a Pinto front end. It was a manual rack. We had put, he had just, the car that he was driving at the time was the one that my sister's got. It's a Model A Roadster with a Jag rear.
Right.
And the rear end in that car, when he built that car, he handmade everything for that car too. And there was a black guy that lived over off of Mallory that worked for Richards Medical, which is
Like Wright Medical.
no, it's Smith Nephew.
Yeah,
but
Smith
it was called Richards back then, and
It's off Brooks.
yeah, his name was E.C. Suggs, black guy, and he was a polisher. He did all the polishing, or was over the polishing end of the department for Richards Medical, and the plating. So I don't know how they got hooked up, but I think it was Roy Lanyard found him or something, another guy in the club. Anyway, he would plate stuff, and it was really inexpensive. And Dad took everything that he could unbolt off that Model A Roadster, and I'm talking about everything. And he put it in the back of a pickup and took it up to EC, and he said, "What's it going to cost to get this plated?" And he looked at it a little bit. He said, $500. So Dad got the entire rear end of this Jag done, the whole front suspension, the exhaust system, a lot of stuff. And it's still on the car today. I mean, it's all plated.
Epic.
And so I just love the way that thing looked in the tail end. So we put a Corvette under my car. So we boxed the frame front to back. And that was the first car I ever remember having four-wheel independent suspension other than Jags. They had, I think Vernon's car had a Jag front end, but it may have had a Jag rear. I don't remember. But there just wasn't many four-wheel independent suspension cars, and an A model being a short wheelbase, it was a real choppy ride. So it should make it ride better.
Right.
The engine that was in the car, he wanted a car show in Nashville, and it was a pretty stout small block Chevrolet, turbo 350. I wanted a rumble seat. We put a rumble seat in it, and he made it electric. He took an articulating arm off of a step extender on a handicap van
Wow.
and made this bracket so this rumble seat would go up and down.
Dig
Nobody had any of that stuff then.
Right.
We put electric windows in the car. Nobody had electric windows in it. We were pulling 72 Cadillac. We'd take the electric window motors out. You
Yeah.
could use the buttons and all, and they were good and they worked good. So it was a sweet car. And we were almost done with it, and he was really dragging his feet about getting it finished, and because he knew what I was going to do, you know?
Right.
And he was trying to protect all of us. And between me and Mom, he just couldn't take it anymore. And he finished the car, and I got it. And man, within 3 months, I got a DUI in the car. I wrecked it in Bruce, Mississippi. I was meeting two guys from Ole Miss. They were having shrimp and beer at Sardis. And they told me, "Man, if you don't make it, we ain't going to see you down here." And I'm hauling the mail going through there at Bruce, Mississippi. They had 2 red lights in Bruce, Mississippi. and they were on relays. And I don't know if you ever remember seeing these old red lights, but when they would change, at some point they would be black. There would be nothing
Right.
because the relays were swapping between the lights, and then finally it would pop on. Man, I'm clipping down through there, and that happens, and I didn't see the light, didn't notice it. Light changed, and I went through it and got hit on both sides.
Yep. That's just in the earpieces. That's not on the thing.
So that was a hard phone call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Calling Pop, because I mean this all happened within
3 months.
yeah
Yeah.
3 months.
He knew what was going to
I'm
happen.
like, Pop, man, I wrecked my car, and he's
How much
like,
chrome were you able to save off that?
well, the car at that time was all steel. It was all steel, and it clipped both front fenders, the left rear fender, and it peeled the B pillar post just behind the door all the way back to the fender, so it was opened up so you could see inside the car. It was pretty bad, and it broke one front wheel. I had Fenton center lines on it, and it broke the left front wheel, broke a chunk out of it. Wow. But I was able to drive the car home. I drove it home all bent up. Called Pop when I got to. I had a few beers when I got to Omi or to Sardis, and I don't know at what point I called him, but I called him, and it was because I had a few beers in me. I'm like, Pop, I wrecked the car, and he's like, it was like silence on the other end, and I'm thinking, man, I am in deep.
Right.
And he said, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He said, "We can fix the car. You need to get your ass home." I'm like, "Yes, sir."
Because as soon as all this shrimp's done, and I'm sober.
Yeah. So anyway, I go home, and he is. Pop comes across as being this real gruffy, rough guy, and he is to some extent, but he's really very genuine also.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, he said, "Son, you don't need to worry about this car. You need to go back. You need to do good on your finals, and we'll take care of it this summer." He said, I pretty much did it the first time. I'm not doing it the second time. This is on you. You messed it up. You're going to fix it. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I went back to school and finished finals, and I didn't go back.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I guess, my sophomore year at Mississippi State, and I never went back to school. I went to work and, put my car back together, and
Yeah.
and that's it. So.
Yeah. So you got it back together again.
Yeah, we've actually built that car 3 times.
Wow.
This is the 4th time that I've chopped it and been collecting hot rod parts for it for a long time. I want to go traditional.
Yeah.
And I had decided on a motor. I've got several motors for it, and the one piece that I was waiting on for the car is a 32 chassis, and I've got an original 32 chassis that came out from under a good friend of ours in Senatobia. And that chassis was the first chassis that Cosmo ever built for anybody.
That's epic.
And it was the car that it came out from under is what got Ronnie Giesland in
Yeah.
Hot Rod, and also it was Charlie Sanders' car. And something happened to the transmission. Ronnie was telling me this when I went and picked it up. He was working for the Chevrolet dealership down there, and they took it in to get the transmission done, and they put Ronnie on it. And he's like, he told me, he said, "Man, I've never seen anything like this."
Right.
And he said, "I just loved it, fell in love with it right out of the gate." And he said, "This is what started it for me."
Yeah.
So that was the last piece that I needed for my A model. So, and then until we get projects off of Pop and I can kind of get
Right.
back in it, that's a priority for me, is to get that car put back together.
So your sister's car has only been built once?
That car's been built 3 times also.
3 times also.
Yeah, the first car he built was my car. Then he built a Model A sedan because the family was increasing, and there's no room in a Model A sedan either.
Right,
it was kind of useless. He drove it for about 2 years, and it was a fun car, and it's got unique stories all of its own as well. And I want to say that the next car was a Roadster. He was really jonesing for a Roadster. And the car that is my sister's was actually a Memphis Rodders race car. It had a Hemi in it. It raced at Lakeland with a Hemi in it.
Get out.
And I can't remember the guy's name. Pop would know. But, yeah, it's a Jag rear. And when he originally did the car, it was Bill Russell painted it. It was silver with a Cleveland that was won at a car show. It was a a 70 and a half model Mercury Cleveland. So it was an 11.5 to 1 stock Cobra Jet 4-barrel Cleveland. It was a hoss.
And that was one at a car show?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second.
They used to give stuff
They
like
used
that.
to give motors
Yeah,
away?
Yeah, Dad.
What happened to that?
Man,
They
Dad.
give cars away now.
Oh,
And Dad.
I've seen him give away motors.
really?
Yeah.
Man,
I've
they,
never seen that.
we used to go to so many shows, and Dad would win all kinds of stuff. And I don't think it's because he was lucky. I think it's because it was like the law of averages. We went to so many shows
Right.
that the odds were just kind of in his favor. But he won 1 or 2 paint jobs, 2 or 3 sets of tires, 3 engines, and he got a complete rolling chassis for a T model. And that car, I think, was really the first car that he built and sold. And from that point on, it was kind of lucrative for him because he could do them pretty quick. He could, at that time, you could make really good money. And so he started, that's when it got amped up pretty good. The first, my car, when he built my car the first time, the first car, he built it in 90 days,
That's amazing.
start to finish.
Complete car.
Complete car. And this is during a time where you couldn't order stuff from Speedway. I mean, they had stuff, but it was mostly race car stuff.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything. Walker was the only thing that was really producing anything for cars at the time, and that was radiators.
Right.
Well, and to that point, though, the knowledge, you had to know somebody that knew something. It's not like you can look it up on YouTube.
Right.
A lot of that stuff, and that's the part that blows me
Or you
away.
had to be ingenious enough to do it yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Figure it out.
Was there a relationship with the Rebelios at that time? I know from doing Marshall's podcast.
Yeah,
there-
no, it was. I mean, there wasn't, and it's just because of my age. I wasn't in that part of it because it was, when they had club meetings, when the Memphis Street Rod had club meetings, there was no women. It was in guys' garages, and they didn't offer anything. Then it got to where they'd have beer at the meeting with a coffee can, and you put a tip in it to get a cold beer, and then it went from beer to popcorn, and then they were going out to. There was a burlesque club over on Lamar. There wasn't a strip club, but it was a burlesque club, and they would go there, and they'd stay out till all hours of the night, and they weren't doing anything. Just
People were built different back then.
yeah, it was just to hear him talk about some of that stuff. They would show stag. I've heard him say that they would show stag films in these meetings, and there was no video to them. And Billy Heddle,
No sound. You mean no sound to him?
he had a speech impediment, and it was it was Natalie's uncle of Rip and Natalie that have the dragster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was her uncle, and Billy was funny, man. Dan Guy said that you could throw a steak on the grill no matter where it was, and within 30 minutes, Billy Heddle would show up ready to eat. And he was just the green car that David Kelly's got.
Yes.
Billy drove that thing a lot and did some work on it, but when he talked like this. And it was funny. So he would narrate these stag films. and Dad said that guys would just be literally laying in the floor, holding their stomachs, laughing. It was so
And we're
funny.
not cutting this out.
No,
We're going to cut the other stuff out. We're not
so
I wouldn't cut
funny.
nothing out.
So funny, man. But there was another guy in the club. His name was Buddy Rush, and he was in a wheelchair. And he had a 34 Lincoln Hurst, and that's the grill that's on Spud's Model A.
Yeah.
Is the grill that he gave that to Dad for whatever reason, I don't know.
Epic.
But they were at a club meeting at Bill Russell's house, and Bill lived across the street from the high school. And Ricky Neal talks about how Bill was kind of a big influence on him. Bill painted, and it's funny to hear Dad tell stories. He had a car that Bill had was built by a guy named George Jessic, and the car was, I don't know if it won the American Roadster Show or it was the prettiest hot rod in America, but it was a Model A sedan that was chopped and channeled, full fendered, small block 4-speed that was smoking bad. It would absolutely roast the tires off of it, and the car had a really unique paint job on it. It was just when for me, when you see hot rods, there's some that just have a timeless look. They have it. This was one of those cars. So Bill took the car apart, painted it, put it back together, made it his own, and in the process of doing that, he ended up with another one called it was a 40 Ford convertible, and when he took the car apart, he took all the bolts and labeled everything in these bags, right front fender, left front fender, and it was in butter dishes, I think Dad said, and he had taped across the top of them, and so Dad would help him on the car, and when Dad would get frustrated with him, he'd send him after something to get him out of his hair so he could fix something. Because Bill's, like, no, don't do it that way. And Dad's like,
Right.
Here, go get us some lacquer thinner or something down wherever. And so he'd go, and Dad would do whatever he needed to. But anyway, one thing that Dad did is he rearranged all the lids on the butter dishes. He took them off and swished them all around because he knew he was going to have to put the car together or help Bill put it together. But anyway, they had the club meeting at Bill's house. They were throwing darts, drinking beer, and Buddy was sitting in his wheelchair, and one of the guys that was sitting next to him, I guess, had drank a bunch of beers, and he had the dart, and he was just kind of doing it like this on the tire, and it went psh. And Buddy kind of leans over to one side. So they whip the wheel off, take the tube off, patch the tube, put it all back together. And yeah, it was just junk like that all the time. Man. Funny stuff.
Epic.
But I guess with Marshall, the guys all kind of knew each other, but it wasn't an association. I mean, Dad knew who Joe Lonati was, but he didn't hang out with him. They just kind of hung out with the Memphis Street Rodders, and then it was much like it is today. You just got your crew that you hang out with, and we just hung out with some guys pretty much from South Haven.
So tell us about. There was a break off from the Memphis Street Rodders.
Oh, it's like a Baptist church. I mean, you'd have them peel out right and left, but there was some guys that got bent out of shape, and they started the Memphis Street Teaks.
Yes. Okay.
And
what year was that, Greg? 80s?
I was going to say, that was sometime in the 80s. Well, I know they were around in the 80s because that was when I started.
I think it was 76, 75. I don't know what did it. It may have been a car show.
Okay.
That's kind of where everything goes down.
I was going to say probably.
When a club wants to do a car show, and you've got 30 or 40 members, and you can't please everybody, and somebody's
right.
And the Germantown guys, they had nice stuff. I don't know if I remember Larry and his brother Denny being in the Memphis Street Rods, and then at some point they left, and I don't know if he was a Memphis Street Teak. I just remember him being absent for a long time, and there wasn't any animosities between the guys. It was just they wanted to do things different, and that's what they did. Because I remember going to the Street Teaks had a car show, and I remember going to it, and it was fun. It was it was fun.
Yeah, I'd always heard that name, and I didn't know that was a break off.
Yeah,
Street Teaks.
Yep.
What do we got, Mike?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
I was wondering, I'm at Sam's right now, and I was wondering if I could stay till 10 because I ordered pizza.
I'm doing a podcast. You're on it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can stay till 10. Love you. Bye. Bye.
What?
Hey, I'm a dad, man. What do you want, man?
Dads are never off duty.
Never off duty as a dad.
Yes, you can stay and eat pizza. Anyway, go on with the board.
I don't know what we talking about, but
you were talking about the Street Teaks car show.
Different.
Yeah, I remember the Street Teaks because, I got my 55 in '86, and I was at Memphis Classic Chevys then.
Yeah.
And I remember Street Teaks going to some of the shows and stuff.
Yeah.
We used to have a car show out at the Summer Drive-In.
Yeah.
And they would be there as well. But
Speaking of Summer Drive-In, Saturday night.
This Saturday night. When is this episode airing?
It
better
really
be before Saturday night.
Better be before Saturday.
You guys are painting me in a corner.
That's all you
did it
need.
yourself.
Oh no,
That's
sir!
right.
You
Yeah,
painted
that's right.
yourself.
You set the brush
That's
down,
right.
sir.
We were all going nondescript on what day it is. Yep.
Merry
All your
Christmas.
fault. There you go.
Happy Hanukkah, Sean.
We all know what Sean Young will be doing tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Celebrating Kwanzaa.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, we're loading up all the cars and going to the drive-in. First time for the summer.
Absolutely. It's
So-
going to be epic.
I think we're gonna.
You coming, Greg?
Plan on it.
I will have lots of bug
Absolutely.
spray.
You coming?
For a grand
You
show.
have what?
You coming?
Yeah, I'm coming.
What'd you say?
You coming?
Bug
I
spray.
can't commit to that.
Lots of bug
What?
spray.
Lots of bug spray.
Wait, when it's Saturday?
Saturday night.
You'll get eaten alive out there.
Maybe.
It's
Just
right
drink
by the
beer.
wall.
Just drink
I
beer,
know.
man. They'll leave
I
you
know.
alone.
It's
That's
Top
all
Gun
right.
Maverick.
That way they'll just bounce off of you.
Never close
Yeah.
your eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not a Tom Cruise guy, to be honest with you.
No,
Come
me
on,
neither.
man.
What kind of guy are you?
Who is the new?
Who's the guy that does it for you?
I'm a Steve Buscemi guy.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I see
He's
it.
more of
I
a
can see
Patrick
that.
Swayze man.
That makes sense. You're more of a Steve Buscemi guy.
Later in life or early, or like Chris Farley dancing on SNL?
So is Tom Cruise in this?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no,
no,
The new
He
one?
is,
not
yeah.
at all.
Oh, okay.
He definitely didn't use his production company to make.
I
that
mean,
whole
like, is
story
he
around
just
himself.
like roll his old ass out there?
Dude,
and-
he's a vampire. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah.
Does he still look like
Looks
he
like
had
Tom
an age?
Cruise.
He's 150 years old. Looks a lot better than you, bro. I'm telling you right now.
I guess so.
Val Kilmer.
That's what money will do. I don't know if Val Kilmer's in it. I think
Yeah,
might
he
be.
is. He
It
is.
might just be a picture.
No,
No,
it's
he's in
it's not good. I've
Oh,
seen pictures,
come
but
on,
yeah,
man.
Val's not looking good.
I'm going to
Yeah,
go
he's
ahead and
not
say it.
looking
You
good.
should watch his biopic. Well, this is way
Yeah.
off topic,
Yeah.
but go watch his biopic. That is
I've seen
It's
it. I've been
crazy.
wanting to watch it.
Have you seen
Yeah.
that?
I've seen it on Netflix. Or
Val,
whatever
if
it
you're
is. I like
listening,
that.
you're a hero, bro. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I like Val Kilmer. I
Yeah.
get it.
No, I mean that's an unabashed look at a man's life, and he laid it all out there.
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very forthcoming.
There's a documentary out there. So
It's called,
undoubtedly,
it's called Val.
he's
Watch
been
it.
he's been fascinated ever since before he got famous with just recording everything.
Yeah.
And he compiled all of that stuff that he recorded
Yeah.
ever since he was a teenager.
Like video or
Oh
audio?
yeah, yeah.
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 All the way back to like 8mm film from when he
Yeah.
was a kid.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
He made a
somewhere.
snuff film. and
he's got-
stars in that.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not cutting that out either. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Val. No, he was just very fascinated with he and his brother, and he lost a brother. Used to do films when they were
Yeah.
kids, and I think that's what piqued the interest. And his father was very much letting that go. But
Well, he had cancer or something though, didn't he?
well, that's the I was
Yeah,
right.
he's
leading
got
That's
up to
why-
that.
that's why he
throat
started-
cancer,
Yeah. Right.
and it progressed pretty bad, and
Wow.
he lost his voice when he speaks. I think he has
That's
a trach
right.
still. So,
Yeah.
his son narrates it, and his son sounds a lot like him.
Oh, okay.
So he
Very
uses his voice to narrate his words.
Did you
Pretty
do any,
epic.
do any Doors songs?
They
No.
do. They actually, yes.
Really?
Yeah, there was a whole
There's
Doors
a whole thing
segment.
about the.
Yeah.
They hit every big film.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
from his early life into big film, and
Hold on, since we're talking about
George.
the Doors, you have to watch the dude that does the late night. What's his name? Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy
Jimmy
Kimmel.
Kimmel.
You
No,
have to watch Jimmy Kimmel do the Doors. He did the Doors.
Okay.
It's epic.
Oh,
Anyway.
Jimmy Kimmel. No.
You're
no,
talking
no,
about
no.
Jimmy
No.
Fallon.
You're talking about
Jimmy
Jimmy Fallon.
Fallon.
There we
Yeah,
go. There we go. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Fallon.
He's a leftist piece of garbage, man.
Wow. We're gonna leave that in. I said daughter feather earlier.
I was gonna say he's got to get all this out by Saturday. He's got to cut all this stuff out, so it's on him.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all on him.
You're
He
like,
can say it.
You're like Cartman right now.
Yeah.
You just can't turn it off, can
I know. Oh man. Well, yeah. To go back to cars then.
Right. Let's
you?
double back.
Cartman was a hot
Let's bring
rodder.
it back so Sean won't say anything else bad.
Anyway, Saturday night you'll hear everything.
Yeah, so we're doing
Tom
Saturday. But we have been doing the shop nights at Mike's shop, building your vehicle, right?
Belly tanker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little belly tanker.
Man, I never thought, it still may never come to fruition, but
Oh, it's gonna.
dude,
hope it will.
it was so much fun. I had such a good time doing it, and I miss it.
Yeah,
now.
same.
I miss it bad. It was for me. It served as a break, kind of getting away from pop and doing all of that stuff. But to be able to have the creativity back again to say, look, we need to do this. Let's look at doing this way. It was fun, man. I've missed that.
Yeah.
When I had my shop, that was the biggest part of it to me was the
Problem solving.
the what?
The problem solving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doing that. It was fun, the creative side of it.
Yeah, we had to cut out a few things here and there, didn't we?
Man,
Like every time we put something in,
put
dang
5 or
it.
6 in, and then you got to take 10 out. Then put
I don't know. I
5 or
like
6
watching
in.
the redesign of the chassis. That cage was something I'd never actually been a part of.
Yeah,
So
it was fun.
It was
man.
good.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was slow out of the gate,
Yeah,
but
real slow out of the gate.
But we finally, once we got in the groove, and it was all James Brown. I mean, when
That's
when you
right.
put the tunes on,
That's
dude,
right.
it was on.
So what happened? The third meeting, I was like, man, the music I'm playing isn't right.
Yeah.
Something isn't jiving. Like people were getting frustrated. I'm like, I got it. And I turned James.
No, no,
Dun,
no. You
dun,
went,
dun, dun,
you went
dun.
to yeah.
It was over.
Something about Sex Machine. Just gets
Smooth sailing.
Oh,
a
man.
room full of dudes moving
And
around.
Sex Machine.
They
That's
went
right.
to they went to dinner first.
That's right.
He
That's
needed
right.
a break.
Yeah, we did do that. We stopped and went and ate dinner a number of times. It kind of became a
Schedule. It was
not
like
just
it was like a work day. It's like we're gonna do 3 hours, get pissed at each other, go eat dinner, and come back and fix
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Really,
what
I
we
don't,
did.
I don't know if we ever got mad at each other.
no, not us.
Man,
Man, it
but
was
you get
so much
frustrated at the
fun.
problem that you're looking at, and then you go.
For me, it was like you kind of get in the groove where you're cutting and everything's fitting, and then it's like I can't think no more. I got
hit
to
a
do
wall.
something different. Yeah,
you hit a wall.
and you do that and get a little refresh, and it's
That's
like,
right.
oh
Then
yeah,
we
man,
go
it's
to a
back on.
random pirate bar and
The cove.
Man, the way that it ended for me this year was epic.
yes,
That was over the top. That was so much fun.
Wild Bills.
Yeah.
Go to Wild Bills.
Oh,
Wild
my-
Bills was fun.
Dude, you missed it.
I know.
You
I know.
missed
You
it.
went
It
the
was
other one. I wasn't there either. I was
oh,
working.
it was
That's
it
right.
was so much fun.
Yeah.
I saw
It
videos.
was a blast.
I've been to Wild Bills, but I didn't get to go hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
You've been?
Yeah, I live like a mile from it.
What?
He's a regular.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the chick with the tambourine?
I don't know that.
Her name's Tamburina.
I was gonna say,
man.
don't worry about it. Greg has her phone number in case you need it.
I think I could have got it.
That's Matt's side hustle.
Definitely could have. Yeah.
Oh man.
She was sweet on Matt or Greg.
Well,
Man,
anyway, that's what I was
yeah.
telling these guys. I send tourists to Wild Bills.
Yeah.
You know, like, you'll meet them somewhere, and
No kidding.
Where do you guys go? And I said, well, I'm gonna tell you, you need to take a cab, get out of the cab, run in, and when you have the cab ready, when you're ready to leave, and run out. You know, it's.
But they were. It was. It was not anything like I'd ever experienced. It was.
It's a juke joint, man.
It
Straight
really
up.
was.
Yeah.
I guess, and it's not even close. I don't even think it's in the same category. But Hernando's Hideaway
Right.
is a fun, cool, awesome place to hang out.
Yeah.
But this was like the Rolling Bones car of George's 32. It was raw.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that car was rough.
Yeah.
It was, you had to be on your toes to drive it and all that when I had it for a little while.
Right.
And that's what that place is like.
That's right. You can
Hernando's is more like Cole's 32. It's just,
Yeah, little
yeah,
refined.
it's nice.
still a little more refined.
I
Sweet,
think what,
right?
so the analogy what we're looking at here, if you wrap your head around what's going on, is you felt like Baby carrying a watermelon when they go to the dance hall in Dirty Dancing.
What in the hell?
Yes.
Man?
Yes, you were really uncomfortable, but you were really intrigued.
yes.
And then Patrick Swayze's using his hips, and you're just like,
Wow.
"This is the place."
When we walk in there,
I don't know, Sean.
And this,
I'm looking at you, and you're looking at me, and we're going, "What?"
You're not going to cut that out. That's staying in.
this
You got a lot
lady-
of cutting to do, Sean.
This lady is playing lead guitar like Jimi Hendrix. It's I guess
Yes.
a right-handed guitar, left-handed.
Yeah.
And she is shredding this freaking guitar.
She was.
And there was like three white women in the whole place,
Yep.
probably 8 total, and we were 5 of them, and she is just,
Yeah. 8 total white people, yeah, but whatever. But she looked like a history or a music
Exactly.
teacher from
when
Rhodes
you said
or
that, it was
something,
like,
you know?
oh man,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it was funny. It was
Yeah,
like
it was
totally
that's
out of place.
that's as close to real Memphis, I think, that I've
That's
that I've
you ever
ever
going to
been.
get, man.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
They've
It
been
was
doing
so
that
much.
since the beginning of all that, and
Yeah.
they haven't changed the recipe.
Yeah, and she could shred.
Man, she was awesome. They all were. That whole band was good.
Yeah.
I mean, they just
On point.
made it look so
Yeah,
easy.
you can tell they've done it for a
And
long time too.
I've
Yeah.
always thought if somebody can make something look easy, it's because they're really good at what they do.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, you can still smoke cigarettes at the table.
yeah,
And then
that's a real reason we
Still
do it.
smoke cigarettes at the table. Order
the lady that
quarter
was
beer.
waiting on us, I can't remember her name. I asked it, and I was calling her by her name, but I can't remember what it was. She had to have been 80 years old. She was probably 40, but she looked 80.
Juke joint years.
Little bitty skinny woman. She was waiting tables. She was cooking food. She was taking money. She was doing she was doing everything.
To go orders, she did the entire thing by herself.
Good
the
for her,
entire
Ben.
place.
Yeah.
Was
Hustle.
hustling.
Wow.
And when we went to pay, I kind of put my arm around her and said, "Man, thank you for taking care of us." And it was just funny. She said, "What y'all doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "It's Easter. I'm going to church." And, and she said, "Well, after that," I'm like, "I got to go to work." And she said, "You need to come back up here. Can you play the drums?" I'm like, "No, ma'am." "Can you play the guitar?" I'm like, "No, ma'am. All I can do is drink beer, and I can do that, you know." But it was funny, man. It was, y'all need to come back. We had fun. And as we're leaving the place, everybody that's in there is doing the same thing.
That's
They
right.
were like, "We're
Yeah.
glad you guys."
Talking
It was
to
so strange, man. It was,
People were nice, and they were from Memphis.
yeah,
It's so weird. You know?
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the whole thing about that
Yeah.
this city is it's a city of working musicians. I mean,
That's right.
Most of that
Yeah.
band, if not 100% of them, have real jobs.
Yeah.
and that's just where they go to get their jive out.
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So
They were awesome, man. It was,
you're,
it was a great
you
band.
could be working at FedEx throwing boxes next to a legend. In
Yeah.
a different
Right.
time,
Yep.
in a different time.
Yeah.
but because
Yeah.
he was born now,
Yeah.
or she,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they got to play it.
Yeah, the crazy crazy part about that place is how it was split in half. Like it was obviously two
Bays.
two different offices or
Yeah.
whatever at one point, and then they just cut a hole in the wall, and you see the band on the other side, and then everybody else is sitting on the other side. It's like it was like, this is kind of odd, but all right, I'm good with it.
Look, I had people show up from California.
And the food was just,
Oh, the catfish.
Oh,
man,
gosh,
you
it
can't
was
mess
so
with the
good.
catfish.
Really?
It's the best catfish you
oh
can get.
my
I don't think
God.
I've ever eaten there.
Dude,
the
you
best
have to
catfish you
eat
can
there,
get.
man.
Man,
It was so
I
awesome.
had the pork tenderloin
Yeah.
sandwich
Pork-
or whatever, or
pork
pork
chop
chop sandwich.
sandwich,
Yeah.
Man, it was.
And when he ordered
so
that,
good.
Can't
when he
mess
ordered
with it.
that, I thought, dude, you don't know what you ordered. You know?
Right.
And then he did. It was like, oh man, this is the best thing
It
I've ever
was
had. I'm like,
so good.
far out, that's cool.
If you screw up a pork chop sandwich, I have no respect for you.
Well, what I was
Bar's been
expecting,
set.
Yeah.
what I was expecting when we worked at when I worked at Jack's Foods, they had all that kind of stuff there
Yeah.
too. But the bone was in it, and it was hard to eat. I'm like, man, why are you even doing this? But dude, he scarfed that thing down. This is the best thing I've ever eaten.
It was so good,
Yeah.
and the fries were.
Yeah, everything,
Man,
man.
everything.
Look, I had just worked I was tired, man. I was dirty, and we go in there and sit down. She said, "What do you want to drink?" I said, "I want cold beer." She said, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't care. I just want a big cold beer." She said, "You ain't gonna get mad at what I bring you?" I'm like, "No, ma'am. If it's a cold beer, I'm good." And she brought out this. It was like a 48-ounce. It wasn't a quart. It was bigger than a quart,
Like a 2x4?
and it was a bush.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
it was a bottle.
No, it was a
was a
40-ounce
liter.
bottle.
Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was.
It's
It
a
was.
Rayford's almost 40 is what it
Yeah.
was.
Yep.
And it was.
almost 40.
38
She
ounce.
handed it to me, and I just kind of giggled. She said, "You ain't mad?" I said, "No, ma'am. This is right on time." It was great, man. It was great.
You're not going to ask for a glass, are you?
I screwed that cap and turned that dude up, man.
Still had the paper sack on.
No, they give you a red silo cup with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. We just
I think
tossed
they
them.
should
Yeah.
serve you with a paper sack.
Yeah.
This is
That-
the kind
that-
of joint we are. and-
That happened at Jack's Foods. That's
Well,
what you did there.
I was gonna say you could bring your own liquor in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there
There's a
are
lot of
people
places
bringing
that
in
do that.
fists
Yeah.
and stuff. You know.
Yeah, they only serve beer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Bring your own liquor.
and there was a guy that came in there, and he was Pimp Mac Daddy. He walked in, he had a red velvet coat on, this
Man.
pimping hat, and Tamarine lady was over shaking her thing in front of me and him. She was getting it, and he walked right in the door in front of God and everybody, right up to her, and leaned over while she's shaking everything. He said, "What is your name?" "I'm going to dance with you tonight." I'm thinking, dude, you have got some kahunas on you. You are the man, you know. He just strutted right over to her and told her how it was going to be.
His
man.
name's Daryl. He's an accountant down at Bourne.
That's Daryl.
That's Daryl. He's an
Daryl.
accountant at Morgan Keegan.
Oh man, it was so
Quiet as
funny.
a church mouse Monday through Friday.
There was a you may know about this. What was that blues festival that they used to have off of Yellow Dog Road in Senatobia. It was Otis.
Ready?
King Cotton. No, not
O.B. McClinton.
No, it
King
was
Biscuit.
No, it was a guy that.
Did someone have a King
man.
Biscuit over there?
Is there a tire on
No,
the fire?
Ace is floating there. Biscuits over here. Apparently, it's
dog.
funny. But there
Ace is very comfortable.
there was a black guy in Senatobia that had
It means he likes you.
sounded like somebody started a small block or something.
Just
he
him knocking
he
on.
had he played the harmonica, and apparently he was pretty famous. And they have a I can't remember it. It's something family reunion, goat rope and blue or
Is it
goat roast and blues festival is what.
Junior Kimbrough?
No, that's not it. It's Otis something. Anyway, they play blues music, and they roast goats, and they got all kinds of food, and
Right.
it's in this guy's backyard. And you drive in there, and it's like driving in Orange Mound. There is 4-wheelers, and I knew I was going to die. It was like going to that place. I'm like, I'm going to die, but it'll be fun.
Right.
And so we go, and it's the same scenario. Everybody's just unbelievably friendly. The music is unbelievable. The food's good, and there's this old storefront, and these old guys are sitting on the front porch, and these black women are out there dancing. And I see this guy. He must have been 80 years old. He gets up, and he's strutting literally over to him and kind of dancing up to him, and gets right in the middle of them and starts dancing. And the phrase that clicked in my mind was "cock of the walk." Dude, he was the cock of the walk that night. It was the coolest thing to witness and see.
Epic.
It was, man. It was just, you never get to see that kind of stuff. It was cool to see.
No, not at all. I love that place. So I had people come in from California, and they were coming in late, and they were just passing through. And I was like, yeah, you can stay at my place. And they're like, look, we're not getting there until like 10 or 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. And I was like, well, I got places you can park the truck. They're like, is there anywhere that we can go to eat? We can only stay until Monday, before noon, and we got to roll out. I was like, yeah, I'll figure something out. So Sunday night at like midnight, I took them to Wild Bill's. And
He called me that night and said, man, what are you doing? You need to come go with me. And I couldn't. I don't know what was going on. But
yeah, they did not know how to handle it. I'm like, this is real Memphis right here. This isn't the fake
I
stuff
missed
you
it,
see.
man.
Are they from California? Or they were from the East Coast but live in Cali now.
No. They were from California. Yeah, from California, traveling through.
And how did that go over? They just couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah. One of them was a photographer, and he was on top of it. He thought it was the greatest thing he ever seen.
Yeah.
And then my other buddy's a pastor that he was okay. He was good, because he was a pastor, but before he was a pastor, he was on death row.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. So he was okay.
Let's just gloss right over that.
No
Just-
big deal.
He was acquitted. The evidence came.
Yeah. That's a crazy
Jameson.
story in itself. If you want to look up Jake Sellers and his story.
I think I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Yeah, Jake Sellers has a crazy, crazy story about, he was, like say, he was on death row. He was going to die by execution.
Wow.
And epic story. I won't go into it, but look up Jake Sellers for sure. Yeah, he's something else.
I don't know if you can impress
Indeed,
that
man.
guy. You can't impress that guy.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's a great dude.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, you take him to like the coolest thing ever, and he's like,
Oh no, he was stoked.
Really?
Yeah, he was stoked. I could tell that his buddy came from church world. He grew up pastor's kid. He
was mortified.
He was nervous. Probably not quite as nervous as Matt was. He was nervous.
he just knew he was going to come out and the car was going to be on blocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. He could turn into like Gator from that movie. He did buy 22-inch spinners for his car after that.
Look, it caught me off guard. That's the reason why I always talk about Matt being nervous. Like when we were going there, I knew Sean was going to be nervous. Like I knew.
That's why you rode with him.
Right. That's why I rode with him. I'm like,
To make him go. He didn't.
You're going.
I knew Sean was going to be nervous, but when we pulled up and we parked, and I seen the look on Matt Marion's
No,
eyes.
wait. When we pull up, there's a wreck in the middle of the place. There's cars and car parts scattered all over the freaking street.
No cops.
People are standing out there. I'm like, oh, this is great.
They're fist fighting.
This is great, man.
Yeah, it was epic. It was. Shop nights were good. We'll do them again this coming year.
Yeah.
We will definitely do them again.
I think we need to. We need to work something out for the summer.
Yeah.
We need to get a summer session going and doing something.
I'm totally down with doing the summer session. The only reason why I kind of dogged it off is because I know there's so much car stuff going on every week.
You know, though, it kind
is.
of backs off like in July and August.
Yeah, because it's 200
It gets
degrees.
so hot.
and-
So maybe we
there
start back
you
up
go.
in July.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good
down.
idea.
I'm down. I always think it's a blast. I love doing it for sure.
Crank up the AC
stuff.
and go.
I'm in.
AC.
You have AC in there.
You're right. I do. I just don't run it. You know why? Because men don't need AC. That's why.
That's why
Yeah,
they
right.
make Cal vents.
That's right. That's why they make Calvins. That's exactly right. So everybody in the Bourne family gets a hot rod.
You get a hot ride.
Your dad undoubtedly is like Oprah Winfrey.
I don't know. I don't know how that worked out, and why it came to be that way. But he just got into building cars. Excuse me. And then as he's doing them, in the beginning he wasn't getting rid of them. He was just parking them, putting them places, and what have you. And the Roadster that my sister's got was the primary car. There's no telling how many miles that car's got on it. It was originally silver and burgundy. It was that way for about 5 years. They took it apart, painted the car burgundy, and it was that way for a long time. He changed wheels once or twice, and just drove it. George drove it to Columbus one year. I guess he didn't have a car or something was going on, and
Poteet
he drove Dad's Roadster.
didn't have a car.
Yeah,
There was a point in time where that was the thing.
yeah. I mean, and it's funny because the first car trailer he ever bought, we've got it. The first race car he ever had at Bonneville, we've got it.
Yep.
The first hot rod he ever had it was a Model A Roadster. I don't know if he talked about it with y'all's
Not
deal.
much, no.
But I ended up with that car
That's right.
and finished it. I don't. When George had it, it was always primer. I don't remember it ever having paint on it. But anyway, yeah, he went to called Dad. Said, "Man, I need to borrow the Roadster. Can I go to? I want to go to Columbus." And Dad said, "Yeah." So he took it, and that car at that time it had the Cleveland and the FMX in it, and Cleveland's inherently run hot.
Right.
And when it would get a little hot, it would puke transmission fluid out, and it would look like it was on fire behind it. It just, it just smoke. Yeah. And he drove it up there, didn't have any problem, did the week or however long he was there, come back, and he got to Jackson, Tennessee, and he happened to notice that it was smoking. And then it got to where it was really smoking, and he stopped between Jackson and Brownsville and called somebody with a thing to come get it. And he called Dad, and he said, "Tommy, I burned your damn car up." And he said, "What happened?" He told him. He said, "Oh, no, man, it's just puking transmission fluid. All you got to do is put transmission fluid in it." And George's like, "What? What the hell are you telling me this?"
I
Funny.
don't know if he said it on the podcast. He told that story.
Yeah, he
I
did
think-
mention that story.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did mention that
It's
story.
funny. And when Dad, a funny story about that car, when he first built that car, we went to Jackson, Mississippi was the first car show he went to in it. And the car was painted. It wasn't upholstered. Buddy Jones had just come by and stapled some stuff in it. And Dad had given him a hard time. He said, "Yeah, when we get down there, I'm going to put a sign in this car upholstered by Buddy Jones." And he's like, "You better not, But on the way down there, it burned 12 quarts of oil and 4 cans of STP.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Down there. It was like a 2-stroke.
But
It ran great. Everything was fine. He come back, and it's like, man, we got to do something. So he took it apart, and it was an engine that was won at a car show. It had 3 busted pistons in it.
What?
Yeah, the ring lands were broken, 3 pistons, and apparently that's common with Ford engines. But and he liked to never found pistons for it because it was a Mercury Cleveland, and they were a higher compression than the Ford Clevelands,
Right.
The Cobra Jet Clevelands. It was a 11.5 to 1 engine, I think is what it was, or maybe 10.5, and then the Fords were 10.0.
Right.
But yeah. But anyway, he put pistons in it, and the rest is
went.
history. Yeah. Run
That's
that
crazy.
thing all over the country. It had an electrochromal seat in it. My sister would get in it, and he'd close her up in it. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, when she wanted to lay down and go to sleep, she'd lay down in the floor, and he'd close the seat up. And,
Get out of here,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
That's
And he
epic.
had one of those little one-wheel trailers on it, and they put all the junk in it. and-
The flippers.
yeah, yeah.
The unit flipper.
That's epic.
So when he gave that car to her, it's when I had my hot rod shop over on Lamar,
Yeah.
and we were doing it, taking it apart, painting it, doing the whole thing. And Dad, he come in. We pulled the Cleveland out, put a small block Ford in it, and changed the steering on it, changed the dash in the car. Did a few things, not much. And he said, like he always does, it's like, okay, we're going to do this. I want this color. I want this, this, and this. And he leaves, and I'm thinking, no, that ain't going to fly. This ain't your car. So I call my sister on the phone, and I'm like, hey, sis, I'm getting ready to paint your car. What color you want it? And there was silence on the other end, and she said, you mean I get to pick it? I said, it's your car. Yeah, you pick the color of your car. What color do you want it? She said, well, I want it black. I'm like, that's a perfect color. We can leave everything else the same. It'll be perfect. It'll be beautiful. So Dad was gone for 3 or 4 days, and I think I got the chassis painted and put back together, and we painted the body and had it sitting on there. And he walked in, he's like, what the hell are you doing? What is this? I'm like, we painted the car. He said, that ain't the color I wanted it painted. I'm like, this ain't your damn car. And he's like, he looked at me, and I'm like, I called the owner of the car, and she said she wanted it black, and that's what she got. And he grinned, and he's like, okay. And there was nothing else ever said. It was funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's the same thing happened with the white car. He had my car. It's the car is actually titled in his name. I don't know why. I just took it.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah, that's right.
It's still his car. I'm just doing all kinds of stuff for it. Took it. So when we got that car, there used to be a really good car show around Halloween at Tupelo, and the car club down there would do it, and it was just a good one. The Evil Shindig reminds me a lot of that car show in Tupelo. We had costume contests, and it was funny, man. We for about the first 3 or 4 years, we won the costume contest. Eric Hoyt, me and him dressed up as Franz and Hans one time off Saturday Night Live, and we won it. And we did ZZ Top one year. Bill Hardy was one of them, and they had guitars that would flip, and I had a curly mullet back then. It was a perm mullet, and so I looked like the drummer, and my drum set would rotate, and it was fun.
Cool.
You do little skits and
Epic.
But anyway, we were there one year, and this guy that was in the club down there, what was his name? Strope. Don, I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he pulled the white car up, and it was again a car that's just got a good look to it. It wasn't finished, it wasn't painted, but it was sitting on a trailer, and just the way the chop was and the way the car sat, it was just, man, it was so freaking cool. And they usually had a little swap meet down there, and they always usually had pretty good stuff. Dad was inside the building, and Stroke pulled up with his car, and I'm like, dude, what is the deal on this? He said, I got to sell it. I'm like, what? Have you lost your mind? You can't, this is cool. He said, yeah, my daughter's getting married, and I got to have some money. So I was like, man, this is just so awesome. And Dad was looking, I think, for a project at that time, and I went in and said, Pop, you need to come look at this car. I think I found what you're looking for, hoping he'd get it. And he walked out, and he had the same reaction I did. It was just like, oh, my God, this thing's cool. And got it, and ended up, the grill on the car was not all that pretty. It had a 35 Chevrolet grill on it at the time. And he wanted to do something different, and we were talking about not Bowling Green, but Bonneville more, and I guess that's kind of where all of that came from. And anyway, he put the 40 Ford grill and made the hood and did all of that, and it turned out to be a cool car. Well, anyway, they painted it. It was white, and it was white with red wheels, and it was too white. It was cool, but it was
Right.
ugly.
Right.
and he had some big laminated pictures of it. And I was beginning to do a lot of paint work at that time, and he said, "Here, man, you need to get us some kind of something going on with it." And I flamed it, and that didn't look good. And then I did the checkerboard like on a P51 with the red nose and all, and did that. And he's like, "I don't like that either." And I did a few more things, and him and Mom went to my sister's for the weekend, and as they were pulling out of the driveway, I was pulling in, and I just went to the paint store and got, I don't know, about $200 worth of materials, and I charged them to his account. And the car was in the basement, and I knew it was in the basement, and I'm like, I'm going to paint the car. What's he going to do? He's going to get mad. I don't care. We can repaint the car. He can just get mad, but I'm going to do this because this is what it needs to be. And it took me probably 18 hours to get one side laid out.
Right.
But once I learned how to do it, the other side went pretty quick. And I painted it, and it took all weekend. They come home Sunday about, I don't know, 2 o'clock or so, and I was just taking the paper off. I had just shot the clear and was taking the paper off of it, and they went around upstairs, and I heard the door open upstairs, and I run upstairs, and I'm like, "Pop, I've been working all weekend. I painted your car." And I said, "You may not like it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. I'll put it back white and you can do whatever you want to. But just know this, I charge the paint to your account and you're paying for that." And he kind of looked at me and he walked downstairs and he looked at it and he's like, "Man, I like it," And
it's epic.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But it was funny. I painted his car while he was gone, charged all this stuff to him.
So which car was this?
The car, my car, it's the 357, the original 57 car.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Epic.
And that's why he built the 34, because he said I took his car, so he wanted one. So he got the body from George and built this one. And he wanted something different. He wanted a flat head,
Right.
more hot rod, and then the Pontiac wheels, and he tries to one up himself, I guess, every time he builds a car, do something different that he's never done.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he did that.
So you're going to put a top on the boat tail.
That's what he said. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But you guys have a pretty unique way, I found out, of building cars anyway. And I asked Mike one day, he said, "Oh no, they never start their engines. That's the last thing they do." Now, I only say that.
Wait. That's Pop's deal. He does that.
Okay.
I learned hard lessons on the money side of it.
Yeah.
Doing for customers. Man, you never did that.
That's right.
It always bit me in the tail end. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that is a Tommy Bourne special right there.
yeah.
He builds the entire car.
Well, that's rough, like you said. And I'm sorry to cut you off. The only reason I bring that up is I was on the internet the other day and I seen you're pulling the motor out of the red, white, and blue car.
Yeah.
And that was a late discovery after it's sitting for years.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that too, that on that one is
All right, that's it. No.
Stinky got to go, man.
Go off. No.
I don't know why they don't love you, Ace. I don't
But
know why.
Man,
that
staring down the barrel.
it's with building cars. He does cars ground up. We'll buy projects. We'll buy cars that maybe somebody else own, and we'll take them and do a few things to them and then turn them out. But this car, he told. So I got a car. Heather got a car, and my kids were, I guess, juniors in high school. And he told them, and Georgia, my daughter, is probably more of a hot rodder than my son is. He was a skateboarder, and he's coming around, and I'm in his car tonight. But he told them, if y'all finish college, I'll give you a car. You can pick what you want. So the 5-window, Dad had it finished, and he says that's his favorite car. That he thinks that's the prettiest car he ever built. He likes that one. Cole ended up with it, and he had a 46 Ford 2-door sedan. It was an unbelievably super nice car. It was as black as you could get a car, and it had red leather interior just like that one. He put a 41 Ford Dash in it, and I don't know if you've ever seen a 41 Ford Dash, but they're different and they're just beautiful. But they bolt right into a 46, 47, 48. Matter of fact, in Australia, that Dash is what came in a 46, 78 is a 41 Ford Dash. So it was just a good looking car. Slade Martin and I think Scooter actually bought the car, bought the chassis and bought the body from whoever done it. Started doing a few things to it, ended up trading it to Slade. Slade did a few more things to it, took it to Ricky Neal and said, paint it. Whatever you want to do, just paint it. I don't care what it costs, I want it done. And Ricky is like Dad in the fact that he likes to try to one-up himself sometimes. And he has if you can catch him in a mood where he's never done something and he envisions it in his mind, man, he can do some.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it is really, and that's what happened with this car. Well, Slade decided he wanted to get rid of it. He was tired of fooling with it, and I had said something to Dad about it. I said, well, if you, I think Dad had seen pictures of it or saw it at Ricky's and kind of liked the car. I'm like, well, why don't we do this one for Gug? If you want to do that. He's like, I don't know. And she went with us when we first went to look at the car. And as we're pulling up in the driveway, she's like, Pop, that's my car. That's the one I want. And he ended up trading that 46 Ford for that car, and it wasn't finished. And that Dad's car was finished, and it was nice, man. I'm like, you've lost your mind. What are you doing? But anyway, he ended up doing it. The motor and transmission was already in the car. It needed upholstery. It needed wiring. It needed to be finished. Dad added air conditioning to it because the rear window doesn't go down in the car. There's no air movement in that car. It's a glass car. It's going to get hot. And he changed the grill shell up, mounted the headlights, did that a little different, and then did the headers. I guess I don't think it had Lakestra headers. It had that fuel injection that Comp Cam sells. That's,
fast.
Well, I don't know if it was. It may have been a fast, but it looks like
The little velocity.
Ingles.
yeah,
Ingles.
It looked like a Hilburn setup. He didn't want that on it. He ended up getting rid of it. But anyway, put the car together, and no, he never cranked it. And during COVID, she's been out of college for a number of years. She had her senior pictures made with that car, and she'll be 30 in August. And so, man, she's just hounded him. And then COVID happens, and he's in the hospital for 10 days, and I'm laid up for 2 weeks. And finally, when we get out and we're kind of trying to get our lives back together, I'm like, dude, you made a promise to her, and you need to keep it. That ain't on me. And I guess he got to thinking about it a little bit, and it ended up. So I'm, ended up helping him try to get the car finished. So we cranked the car. The car runs good, and put it in gear, and it pulls a little bit. Take it out. He's putting fluid in it. We do it again, and it makes some kind of little noise, and it won't go into gear. And so, okay, we got to pull a transmission. So then we get ready to pull a transmission, and when Pop builds cars, he makes them so that there's inherent failure that's going to happen with them, and he tries to engineer them so that if you have to take them apart, if you have to work on them, you ain't got to disassemble the whole freaking car to do it. Like we did with this one. The car was finished, but because the rear cross member was welded into the chassis, we had to take it all, the front of the car all back apart to pull the engine and transmission out because we couldn't get the transmission out. So we get it out, take it to Jerry, and he's looking at it and asking us some questions, and then he goes in the garage and he comes back out with an input shaft and he sticks it in there and he twists it, and he said, that's the problem. And it was a metric converter on a standard or vice versa. Right. So the torque converter was wrong, and he's like, well, do you think we need to go ahead and build this thing? And I'm thinking,
it's out. It's out.
I don't want to do this again,
Yeah. Well
and it was a good thing that it did because the case was cracked.
Oh, coming and finding all the
Yeah, there was all kinds of things that were wrong inside the transmission.
It happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah. So, and it really did. I mean, used to I would get all bent out of shape about those kinds of things, but they end up being blessings because we're finding other things that were not
Potential
right.
problems.
That were missed that could be catastrophic. So it worked out good. I'm glad. I hate it for Georgia because she's having to wait so long for a car, but it's going to be worth
She's
the
going to
wait.
get a safe, reliable car.
Yeah, and it's going to be worth the wait.
That car is beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be a neat piece. I'm glad for her. She's got a bike that's now painted like the car. It's not finished, but they're going to end up being finished about the same time. So she's got a nice bobber to go with her car.
So we really need to put together a sick ass little trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That goes with the whole
With both
shooting
of them.
match.
Yeah,
Does that car have a trailer hitch on it?
and it
need
we
to do
could,
that.
but jeepers, man, I'm tired. Bill Russell come over and he was looking at the car when we had it running, and it's because of the chop and the height and all. It's hard to see out of being a three window. Three windows are harder to see out of anyway. And he's like, George, you can't see out of this car. You need to put cameras on the back of it, and that's all it took.
Is
So now,
is this the LED? Is this how the LED thing happened?
Yep. He did that with the lights and with the
He updated to the electronic era.
yeah, and then the camera. So I ended up putting lights under. I forgot what they call them.
Like ground effects.
RGB, the red,
underglow.
green, blue. You can
Yeah.
change any color you want.
Yeah,
Underglow. That's
yeah,
what they
underglow.
call it.
That's it. So I did inside and out for the car, and it does look smoking cool, man. When it's all lit up at night, it's neat, and that kind of stuff is right up her alley. She's going to eat that up. And then she bought 3 or 4 different kinds of remote cameras, and so I've got these cameras that go on the back of a motorhome that I've got to mount somewhere on the back of the car,
And make
then
it look okay.
and then it'll have like a phone or the receiver part of it that's going to mount like a rear view mirror, and there's a camera forward in it, so it's split screen. You can look at it and you get rear view sections plus front sections, and it's a continual recording. So if she does have something happen that's horrible, God forbid that doesn't take place, it'll all
have
be
some
captured.
evidence
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Right.
So so it'll be a good thing on the backside, but gee whiz, man.
This car's got to be done at some point.
I know.
Can't
It's like you
retire.
got to stop, man. It's enough. It's enough.
Absolutely.
But we're hoping. I wanted to. There's been. I've tried to set goals of when we could get the car finished to debut it, and it hasn't happened. But that's part of the thing of setting a goal. You got to set a goal, because if you
Right.
don't know where you're aiming, you're never going to hit the mark. And so she's taken off to go to the Nationals. So I'm thinking that we'll probably, for sure, end up at the Nationals with it. It'll come out before then. We should hopefully be through with the car if everything goes well. I think for sure next weekend we'll be done, and I can start driving it for a couple of weeks and shake it down and make sure everything's good, and then lateral it off to her. And
Love that.
yeah,
I can't wait to see it.
I'm excited for her. I'm excited to see her drive it and have fun with it.
absolutely.
Dad is much like with that car, like my car when I was at college. He don't want her to have it. He's scared, that the car's low, that she's going to have problems or whatever. But and she may. And I've told him, I'm like, Pop, you ain't got a dog in that race.
Right.
We need to make the car as safe as we can, and pass it off and let her have fun with it. If she tears it up, then we'll fix it.
Right.
If she doesn't, it'll be good. But she's got a real good respect for it. She knows what it's cost, not just dollar wise, but she's watched us struggle to get it together, and she knows.
Right.
So it'll be good.
Yeah,
It'll be
that
fun.
car is catastrophically different from anything I've ever seen
Yeah.
come away from
Yeah.
there.
Well, and I've always thought that girls are probably a lot smarter than guys were.
Yeah.
When it comes to things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe she will do stuff in that car and be a little more respectful than I would be. I would do what you did.
Dude, I don't know. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I hope she does, with a certain amount of reservation, light them up.
Right.
And because to me, if you've got one and you don't drive it, that's just the way I was brought up.
Right.
That's
and
right.
I don't hold anything against guys at trailer cars. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. And there have been times when I've done that myself.
Right.
Especially on a long haul.
Trog, yeah.
Yeah, it's just that little car that we took, it wouldn't have survived.
No, it wouldn't have
it's right now it's got rear end problems where it's just leaking. It's because
We drove it that week.
yeah, we drive it,
Right.
And but I hope she just
Wears it
raw
out.
hides it and has a
Hell
blast
yes.
with it.
That's
Because
what I'm talking
that's
about.
what you're supposed to do.
See,
That's right.
I've got girls too, and I I did a big smoky burnout in my truck with one of them in it. And it was confusing to her. It's like, what are you doing? Why is this happening? There's all this smoke coming out.
You're supposed to explain stuff to him first, Sean. Like, just not hammer it.
Well, we do. We pulled up to a stop sign in my neighborhood, and I just tagged it. And it's like, what's going on? Everything got loud, and
I had a '69 Ranchero that was a R code Ranchero. It was a 428 Ram Air car, and at the time I got it, there was only 2 in the country. I think they made 135 or some stupid low number. And it was a fun car, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I remember Gug when she was little. She was in the car with me, and we were sitting at a red light somewhere, and some kid in a Mustang pulled up next to me, and he was thrashing it pretty good. And I'm like, Gug, you want me to light him up? She's like, yeah, Daddy, yeah, Daddy.
Light him up. Nice.
And smoke him.
Yeah, and I don't know if I brake torqued it or if I just hammered it right there. And it, with 14-inch wheels and tires and a 428, it's
the
not.
Those tires have no chance.
Yeah. And that was it for her. That was like me going to the drag strip at 3 and the dirt track.
Then doing donuts in your front yard in the little car.
Yeah, she was done after that.
That's epic.
Good for her, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, me too. And the one thing that for me and the family, like I was saying about the photographs, I can't imagine all of us being at a car show together in our cars.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great day. It's going to be awesome.
That's what I can't wait till everybody has cars running here and we can all have a picture like that.
Oh, it's all.
We might be in walkers and wheelchairs, but maybe one time we'll all be together with a car that runs at the same time.
Maybe we'll trailer them in.
No.
Maybe they'll all be shiny paint too.
No, I'm not even going to go that far. Even I understand that's not going to happen.
Clear coat's a finish, isn't it?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, I suppose on that note, we probably should.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Put some clear coat on this whole thing.
That's right. There you go.
That's
Boom.
Right. That's right.
So Greg, before we bail, anything else you want to touch base on, or we've been wanting to do this with you for a while.
Oh man, well, it's been fun hanging out with you guys. There was after I got rid of my shop, I was burnt out. I was just done.
I'm glad you brought that up. So Mike Abbott was an employee of yours at one time?
Yeah.
Wait, how did we just talk for like 2 hours?
We always pump fake it at the end. We're like, so before we wrap things up, any big nuggets we forgot?
And it's
everyone
funny.
ready to stay till midnight?
There was a lot of guys that I had that, not a lot, but there was several guys that worked with me, for me, whatever, that have gone on to do this kind of stuff. And that's
cool.
It is. It's fun for me to see it. And the thing that I have with Mike now is I'm hoping one day I'll go to work for him. Right now, I was telling Matt on the way over here, I'd like to go to work for Justin's dad for about a year and a half.
Get that skill set.
Right.
And because I've done that stuff before, but it's been a long time. And I just, there's nobody doing it now, and I think it's a good niche to get in.
Yeah.
Not that I want to do that full time, but I would like to be able to do that because I've got some ideas about doing things different than I've ever seen anybody do. And I think it would be fun,
I'm not built for that kind of work. I just know it.
For interiors.
No, I'm not built for it.
I tell you, it's hard, man. It's really hard on your fingers.
Yeah.
Like people don't think that, but man, like trying to pull all that.
Yeah.
It's
really Dad.
difficult.
He did all of that.
Wow.
He has done every bit of it.
Wow.
And it's I worked for Buddy Jones, who did most of the interior work in Memphis for a long time, and he had 5 or 6 cars that were national show winners, and I worked for him one summer at he had a business called Aircraft Interiors, and man, it was so much fun, working that a couple of summers for him, and the stuff that he did, the jokes that he pulled, and it was a blast. It was so much fun, but Dad don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And we've got stuff that we need to do, and I can do it, but I won't be very good at it because I don't know what I'm doing. You know?
Sure, yeah, I'm with you.
But I'd really like to get into that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. You know, I'm focusing on getting him to where he's got some of the stuff, the burdens off of his back, so he's a little bit more easy. But you know, it never fails. We get one thing done, just like with the boat tail. We're fixing tail lights, and he's like, "I want to do this." And I'm thinking, "Jeepers!" And now it's gone to a 5-speed. We're taking the 3-speed overdrive out because we need to do a clutch in it. It's real hard on him to push a clutch, so we're talking about putting a 5-speed possibly in the car. And he's like, "I want to put a top on it." I'm like, "Are you crazy?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" You know? And he's like, "Well, we can put a bracket up here." And I'm like, "That'll look like shit. We can't do that, you know." And well, we'll put it right through here. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm on board now. And the back half of the top, I'm good with. The windshield, I'm thinking, there's no way on God's green earth you can get that done. And he's like, "I already got that figured out." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, that would be
I'm
complex.
gonna put a latch right here and all this. I'm
Yeah,
like,
all that's left is you doing it, son.
yeah. But you know, the top that's on my sister's car, I guess the only person that had an A model roadster in the country when he built that car was Cosmo. So he run Cosmo's top on it for a little while. But while he had it, he made top bows. He copied Cosmo's top bows and made a top for Heather's car.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
he made all of that junk, you know.
Good for him, man.
Yeah, he's
a
amazing.
beast.
He is. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
He is a beast.
It's been fun growing up with him.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, I'll try to get some pictures of Saturday night.
Yeah.
Because, well, I think everybody's bringing families. And
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I don't have a car big enough to bring all my youngins.
Yeah.
So we're bringing the wife's car. So.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of the ticket anyways, is I don't really care what people drive. I mean, I hope as many people as possible drive their hot rods.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be epic, but, you know.
I'd like to drive mine, but I'm going to have to borrow one from somebody.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I'll be in the fair lane because I know for a fact that the 55 will drag the headers all the way through.
Oh,
that
my God.
place.
Yeah, no doubt.
I've been in there before and been like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get out of this place.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
there's some places where it's kind of rutted up pretty
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah, so it'll be a blast.
yeah. Well, we gotta get a bunch of pictures of all the cars you've talked about and all that stuff too. So
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
give them all
Have
to
you still
Sean
got 'em?
Young.
Well,
I do.
I've got all of those, the ones that you'd given me for
I have your albums at my shop.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Wow.
Nice. There you go. There you go, Sean. There's something else for you to get done before Saturday.
Oh, there you go.
Not counting the couple hours you have now, you've got one
Right.
day.
I tell you,
And all the stuff you have to cut out.
So I think I look at it this way. There's some time I have, usually between 11 o'clock at night and 6 or 7 in the morning that I'm just freaking laying there. That's when I'll do it.
What a waste.
I know.
Wasting your life away.
just
man.
laying
Laying there.
That's a
Yeah.
good time
Like
to
you
do
have a
it.
shop to open.
I
and
know,
everything.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Javier, you want to kick us out of here?
All right, take us out of here. Come on.
This has been Hot Rod. Oh no!
Hold on.
Oh.
Since it cut out, do it in the Cartman voice.
What are we doing? Oh.
Oh, we're getting serious. All right.
Seriously, guys. This is totally been Hot Rod Blues. Tune in next week when we talk to everybody else about some cool hot rod stuff and be real cute. Y'all be safe driving home.
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
I'm seeing the
Matt,
result.
are we good?
No.
I'm 2 weeks in. I got like
We're
2
good?
millimeters.
All right.
All of this.
Here we go.
All
Ready?
Of this,
all recorded, Rich.
quiet.
Ready?
Quiet.
All right.
What is this, episode 17?
18.
Oh, shit. I figured that one out.
Oh,
Is that 18?
18.
Okay.
it's 18.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh.
Okay.